Oh, good, you're back. Hello for another edition of Let's Learn Music Theory. Now, today we're going to be talking about 7 chords. For those of you with high blood pressure, you may want to steer clear of this video. It might just be too riveting. But, of course, to explain things to us from a musical theory standpoint is my kindergarten teacher and our music theory expert, Miss Hoopadoo. Oh, hello, thank you. Yes, it's so good to be back. Thank you for having me. It's the only time he lets me out of the closet. Okay, we already know that major chords are made up of the 1 and the 3 and the 5 from their respective scales. We always do C. Let's do something else. Let's do G. So we start with G. We do our when would hamsters wield weapons with horses. Wield weapon, yeah, that's right. And then we fill it in. So whole step A, whole step B, half step C, whole step D, whole step E, whole step not F, because F, what? I don't even know. Whatever, F sharp. And a half step higher is G. So here is our G major scale. We are trying to find out what a 7 chord is. So, of course, we're trying to find out what a G7 chord is. We've got our G, our 1. We've got our B, our 3. We've got our D, our 5. That is your regular old G chord, and you might be guessing ahead and thinking that perhaps F sharp, being the 7th note of the G major scale, is the note that makes G7 G7, but you'd be wrong. Oddly, it is the note that comes in between, the 6 and the 7. It's not even in the scale. That's what it is. It's the flat 7. It's one below the 7. Why don't they call it a flat 7 chord? I don't know. I just don't know. So F, the note that comes in between the 6 and the 7, is the 4th note of this 4-note chord, which is a 7 chord, which is the kind we're talking about. Let's do another one. I remember the thing. It was that E sharp doesn't exist, so a whole step higher than E is not F, it's F sharp. Anyways, here's our D major scale now. And D, F sharp, and A, being the 1, the 3, and the 5 from that scale, are what comprises the D major, the regular D major chord. And now we locate our 6 and our 7 and find the one in between them, in between B and C sharp, since there's no such thing as B sharp either. Be sure never to say B sharp or E sharp. Anyways, it's C. C regular is the note that makes D7 D7. The quicker way to figure that out is go from your top note of your scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and go down one whole step. One whole step lower than D is C. And by that token, now you know every single note that makes every single chord a 7 chord. F. F goes down E and then E flat or D sharp, either way. E flat's the note that makes an F7 chord, an F7 chord. G sharp, I don't know off the top of my head, but G and then F sharp. F sharp is the note that makes a G sharp 7 chord, a G sharp 7 chord. Now you know all of them, in theory anyways. Back to you, Ryan. Is everyone okay? No trips to the hospital? All right. My kindergarten teacher. Let's look at some common ones, and then we'll look at some not so common ones to show you all the various ways, and I'm sure there are more, to make 7 chords. E7 might be the first chord you ever learned. G string 1st fret, A string 2nd fret, that's it, right? The difference between this and regular E is that this E note on the D string 2nd fret becomes, voila, a D. D being one whole step lower than E, there's an E, E flat, D is the note that makes E7, E7, so, ta-da, regular E, E7. There's another D note you can access here. It would be the B string 3rd fret, straight out of your D chord, right? The root note of your D shape, and things we'll talk about in the future, is the B string. So that is a D note. B, C, C sharp, D. So if you do your E7 and add your B3, you've got 2 Ds in that E7. I call that an E super 7. No one else says that. You can say that, then we can have a party. Okay. Anyways, E7. Yep, there. Now, A7. The note, here's A, regular A, right? The note that makes A7, here's an A flat, G. Has to be G. So, we open up our G string, and there it is, an A7 chord. there's another G you can access if you want. It is on the E string 3rd fret, straight out of your G chord. So do D2, B2, and now E3, and you have an A super 7. There it is. Both of those also, you can do E regular and add that D. You just have one D in it, just the high D. Same thing with A, bar it, and add that. Still just every bit as much a 7 chord. 7 chords have 4 notes in them, the 1, the 3, and the 5, and plus the not the 7 at all, the one below the 7 as well. And D7, D7, D, whole step below is D flat, C. We're looking for a C note, and when we play a D7, of course, we've got B string 1st fret, G string 2nd fret, E string 2nd fret. We've changed that D into a C on the 1st fret of the B string. There's our D7. I suppose if you wanted to, no one does this, but there's no reason for it. Let's see if I can figure out just how to do it. There we go. If you do pointer finger B string, ring finger G string, pinky finger E string, and then middle finger on the A string. Oh, we can't do it. I got to get it up to the 3rd fret. Need to rethink this. Oh, I need a moment. Well, the best thing I could come up with was to do your D7 and then put your pinky finger on A3. This is not fun. No wonder nobody does it. But this would technically be a D7 chord with a C in the bass, right? It's pretty interesting. G7, whole step below G, as Miss Poopadoop said, was an F. There it is, but we're not looking for this F when we play G7. We're looking for that F. So we take our high G and turn it into an F, and that's why we play it all backwards and upside down. G7, because that G has become an F. Here's a terrible way to play G7. Let's use that F. There's our B. That sounds sinister, right? You think of that as a flat 5th because you hear the root. You think of the first thing that you hear as the root. So when you hear that, you don't hear flat 7th 3rd. You hear root flat 5th, that being the 5th, right? You hear that, but that is not a G7 chord, and you could continue your way here and grab that little F too, and don't ever do this, but this is an F7 chord, a G7 chord, sorry. Now that sinister bit there sounds more like part of a G7 because we've got the rest of it. I just thought of another way to play G7. This one isn't so bad, but think of your C7, which I'm sure most of you know. You put your pinky finger on that G string 3rd fret, right? For A, well, let's figure it out before we figure it out. C, down 2 frets, is a B flat there. Oh, there we go. Is a B flat. So I'm guessing that note that we make C7 with is also a B flat. And why, yes, it is, because this is our octave shape, right? 2 frets up, 2 strings down towards the floor. Same note, and you can play Jimi Hendrix. Anyways, so C7, this shape, this one, and this one, this backwards triangle, is going to be, no matter where you put it, a 7 chord, a root, a major 3rd, and a flat 7th, or a dominant 7th, it's also called. But if you were to do that shape, starting on G, you'd have G and B, just like straight out of G. There's our F, right, octave. That song in so many keys. And then grab your high G on the baby E string. Yet another way to play a G7 chord. It's kind of muddy, but it's a G7 chord. Let's talk about F7. We usually play it as the bar chord, right? With no pinky finger. But that's not really much to talk about because you're just making an E7 shape with your pointer finger as the capo, right? Boop, different fingers, move it up 1. So anywhere you put this, of course, is a 7 chord. G7, different way to play A7, different way to play B7. But F, baby F, little f, we are looking for an E flat, right? F, E, E flat. We know this is D because I just said it. 1 note higher than D is E flat or D sharp. So let's put this note, B string, 4th fret, into our little F shape. Now we don't need to bar, so that makes it a little easier. And then pinky finger on B4, F7. And it's got no open strings in it, so anywhere you put that, that's a 7 chord as well. That's neat. It's starting to sound like Drummer Christ. Absolutely. So yeah, so a little piece out of that would be the G string, or the D string, the G string, and the B string. In that shape, there's another 7 shape. Fun times. We can't talk about 7 chords without talking about my favorite open chord, which is B7, and uses the same theory as my muddy G7 there. So it's going to be A2, D1, G2. There's our backwards triangle, and then a little F sharp note there to complete our B7 chord, which I just love. Yeah. Also worth mentioning the C7 in a regular shape. If you promise not to play either E string, you can move that anywhere you want. D7, E7, F sharp 7. Now it's starting to sound like Primus. Anyways, also our A shape with that high G from several minutes ago. If you promise not to play the A string, you can put that anywhere you want too. Just think of your bar chord, right? If that's a D, just do that much of it and then add that one. You'll see that in the Chili Peppers Under the Bridge. I can't think of the key right now, but the gist of it is. Sorry, like that. Right, major 7 and 7 chords there. But yeah, I think I'm out of stuff to say. 7 chords. They've got 4 notes in them, and the 4th one is a whole step below the root. Okay, thanks for being here. Hope that was helpful. See you next time with more stuff. Goodbye. One more thing to say. I kind of just blew my own mind here. Okay, so we played A with a C sharp in the bass, right? A being comprised of A, E, and C sharp, so you can put that 3rd in the bass there. Now, combine those 2 concepts. Let's do it somewhere else for fun. Let's do it back up at D. And our 7 note, 3rd in the bass out of our A shape with something else in the bass, right? And then if you extend it 1 more note with your pinky finger on the E string, you now have a bar chord G7 shape. So you see that this A7 shape is actually a G7 shape. Weird. Okay, bye. Turning off the camera and thinking more. This is it, I swear. I mean, the obvious one, right? Your root 5 major bar chord there. But we just like when we played the A7, you open up that G string. So you have, well, we're on C here, right? So 3, 5, 3, 5, 3. That's a 7. And by the same token with our D7 shape, use different fingers. Use 3, 4, 2, ring, pinky, middle, and move it wherever you want. And put your pointer finger on the D string 1 fret below your middle finger, and you have a D7 shape anywhere you want to put it. Our root note is now no longer on the B string. It is now on the D string. So whatever note this is, that's the 7 chord we're playing. Let's do our octave A. Here is a neat way to play an A7 chord. 7, 9, 8, 9. Never thought of that one before. Bye for really real.